Welcome to the Mitcham History Notes YouTube channel. Today's video in the Lost Pub series is the Pollard Oak in Pollards Hill, northeast Mitcham. Let's get started. Before the Second World War, the Pollards Hill area, mostly fields as shown on this 1932 map, including the Pollards Hill golf course, was developed for private housing. But after the Second World War, due to the enemy action, the bombing, etc., Mitcham Borough Council decided to build a large housing estate here for rent, and I think it ended up being something like 10,000 homes. Here's an aerial view of some of the blocks of flats that were built. These ones in the middle are very similar to the ones in Arfield Crescent, and this 1954 map shows the extent of the housing development that occurred, but there was no pub. In fact, the nearest pub was about a mile away at Tamworth Lane, corner of Manor Road, the Horse and Groom. So the locals petitioned the council for a pub, and amazingly the council said, yeah, alright. So they made space and contacted various brewers, and Whitbread came along and said, yeah, we'll give it a go. And so Whitbread set up this pub called the Pollard Oak in a road called Chestnut Grove, which was conveniently located next to a corner of shops, this central roundabout, and quite close to the two churches, the Baptist Church and the Church of the Ascension, who actually raised objections to the idea of a pub. Anyway, subsequently, Whitbread built a pub, and in 1959, this newspaper article has a great photograph of the builders on the building site raising a glass. And that's an article from 24th of April 1959, so I'll read that. Up the flag and down the hatch. A flag was hoisted to the chimney of the partly built Pollard Oak public house on Monday, and to the 24 workmen on the site it was cheers. They were presented with a firkin of ale, a 9-gallon barrel. They drank it from tankards outside the new building in Chestnut Grove, Pollards Hill. The workmen were taking part in a ceremony which goes back to the time taverns began, known as wetting the pot. It takes place when tilers take over from bricklayers. It begins with the unfurling of a flag from the chimney, and we can see that at the top of the picture there. There's a couple of guys up there raising their glass, and then on the top of that roof you can see the flagpole. The new Pollard Oak will have replaced the prefabricated public house nearby. It was built by Whitbreads as a temporary measure after the war. The opening will be in September. The licensee will be Mrs. Edith Esgen, who has been at the prefabricated building since it opened. The new Pollard Oak will have a bar, which can be used as an assembly hall. And then later on in 1959, the council opened it. And this photograph comes from Merton Memory, hence that big M down the bottom right hand corner of the screen. The link will be in the description if you want to go and look at the photograph yourself. And the assembled people there, there's a flag flying on the pub sign, the Pollard Oak pub sign. And this article reads, Mrs. Lillian Esgen, and I apologise if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but that's the way it looks to me. Mrs. Lillian Esgen closed the doors of Pollards Hill's squat prefab pub for the last time on Tuesday and walked into a large new 3-bar public house next door. Mrs. Esgen has been licensee of the prefab since 1948 when it was opened as a temporary measure. She remains in charge of the new building, which retains the name Pollard Oak. A crowd of spectators watched the opening ceremony. Outside in Chestnut Grove, Mitcham's mayor, Alderman David Chalkley, saw an Union Jack unfurled from the inn sign, and then went inside to pull a few pints for customers. Mr. H.C. Whitbread, an assistant director of Whitbread and Company, told spectators that it was the first opening ceremony he had taken part in. The Pollard Oak has 3 bars, each with a new name. The Acorn Bar, which replaces the public bar, is a long room with mahogany panelling. It is divided from a games room by a central chimney breast. The Oak Apple Bar has walnut panelling and blue furniture and includes a snack bar. The Oak Room, designed for parties and wedding receptions, will seat 80. It has a soundproof ceiling and a garden. Drinks are stored on cooled shelves. There is an off-licence at the front of the house. Note, several cars parked outside the Pollard Oak at the opening had the letters ALE preceding the registration number. They belong to the brewers. This is another photograph from Merton Memories of the pub, and it looks like it's only just been completed. It doesn't have the name on the front. And now we fast forward to 1973. This newspaper article refers to the pub being taken over by a pubco called Harmony Inns. So I'm going to read this article because it's got a few good comments in it. But there's a difference in spelling for the landlady's name. In the 1959 article, the surname was spelled Esgen, Esgen, but in this article it's Edgerton. So I don't know which one's correct. If anyone knows, please let us know by leaving a comment. Club-like pub that grew out of 2 Nissen huts. It could have only happened in a place like Mitcham. They needed a petition to get a pint. Nice bit of alliteration there. Of course, the people of Mitcham have always been ones for petitions, but none of them have ever been so important as the one to get a pub in Pollards Hill. It happened just after the war, when the old Mitcham Council was showing up their neighbours with their building programme. Houses by the dozen were going up in Pollards Hill, but no pub. By 1949 it was too much for the thirsty locals, and they started their battle for a boozer. And it was a battle too, what with 2 of the churches weaving the temperance banner. But finally the council offered a piece of land in what is now Chestnut Grove to Whitbreads, the brewers, who responded by putting up not a pub, but 2 old army Nissen huts, one as the public bar and the other as the lounge. For years the regulars were quite happy with the situation, but eventually the brewers decided the good people of Pollards Hill drank enough to warrant a real pub, and the Pollard Oak, as it is today, opened in 1960. It is a big place, built in the same brick as the rest of the estate, and not so very long ago, when Mrs. Lily Edgerton was tenant, it was a posh place too. There were white tablecloths for Sunday lunch, and the rumours still linger on about old Mrs. Edgerton sending some of the customers round to the public bar if they weren't smart enough for the lounge. Now it's changed again, some say for the worse, but the story of the Pollard Oak is far from over. It's run by a small company called Harmony Inns. They have 6 inns, to be precise, and that means personal supervision for them all. Why, company secretary Mr. Peter Shortland lives only down the road in Rochford Way, so if manager Jack Marsden has a problem, he tackles the boss across the bar. An ex-army band sergeant and euphonium player, 43-year-old Jack, might have been born to be a publican. He gives the impression that he's a regular who somehow got caught the wrong side of the bar. He knows nearly all his customers by name and believes in standing them drinks. Well, it's the least I could do, he said. Besides, it creates a good impression. I love it here. Everyone knows everyone else and we have a good time. We really get packed in the evenings. It's a real community centre. He put his finger on it there. Until the real community centre was built along with the new estate, the Pollard Oak shared the status of community centre with the old hall in Recreation Way, and people somehow never forgot it. In fact, organist Joyce Taylor, who plays there on Friday, Saturday and Sunday nights, gets a bit irritated when people won't let her play without a deafening accompaniment of singing. Of course, every pub has moaners, and there are more than a few at the Pollard Oak. They don't take too kindly to Harmony Inn's idea of interior decorating. Jack Marsden explained, the designer goes round antique shops and buys up old pictures and knickknacks for the pubs, and everyone has a stag's head hanging in the bar. The scruffy carpet in the lounge bar and the rickety chairs come in for some rude comments too. But the bar is due to be extended sometime soon, and then everything will be renewed. But as 67-year-old Mr. Stanley Hutchins of Armwood Way put it, you can't blame them. They're going to put a new carpet in. Trouble is, it's the only pub for about a square mile. I'll come here because it's convenient. 73-year-old Mrs. Grace Freaks of Galpins Road remembers the old Nissen huts. They were lovely, she said. On a Sunday, the men would come in their top boots straight from the allotments. It was as if you were in the country and they were coming in from the farm. Well, I still like it now. I see all my friends in there. Over in the public bar, it's the same story, only there the regulars attach more importance to the company than the surroundings. Steve Bartlett, aged 20, from Edgell Road, said, "It's not smart, but it's what you want. It's a friendly place. There's no aggravation." And a friendly place it looked. Everyone seemed to be involved in a game of darts or dominoes or just propping up the bar chatting. The atmosphere was a place where everyone knew everyone else and had heard all their jokes before, but didn't mind. Jack Marsden was pleased to find someone else who thought that about his pub. "Yes, once we've got the extension and the new carpet and furniture, it's going to be really good." Then he came back to the problem in hand. "So, what are you drinking?" This photograph, also from Memories, could well be between 1985 and 1990. There are 2 clues. There's a Ford Cortina, possibly a Mark IV, on the left-hand side. I've blown up the photograph and enhanced it a bit to try and read the number, and it's B registration. That's the B prefix registration, which came out in 1985. And the roofing truck on the right-hand side, has got an 01 telephone number. And 01 became 081 in 1990. Anyway, looks like it's a well patronised pub. A number of people in there. It's quite nice location. What could go wrong? This is an undated photograph from the other side, and I got it from Facebook, and the person who posted on Facebook didn't say when the photograph was taken. A letter in Camera's magazine, The London Drinker of July 1993 said, "Just a line to let you know that Pollard Oak is now renamed the Oak and Acorn. They are now operating the guest beer portfolio, which started late because of awaiting a permanent manager. The guest beer at present is Fremling's West Country Pale Ale. Good condition. The regular ales are Boddington's Bitter and Flowers Original." And it closed in 2000. This planning application from that year, 16th of May 2000, was granted, and it was to redevelop the site, including 12 three-bedroom houses, 18 off-street car parking spaces, bicycle parking, and landscaping works. And that's the location today. So that's that. That's the lost pub of the Pollard Oak at Pollards Hill. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press that like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already subscribed, because there will be more videos to come. Bye for now.